Shadow, and this is Startup Lady Live. Thank you for being with us this evening. I know it's a weeknight, so we really appreciate you being here with us today. So just to let you know a little bit about Startup Lady, we're bringing gender equality to the startup community. We're fostering a safe space and a community for women and non-binary individuals so that they can find, start, and grow their own businesses with inspiration, education, and support. With these lives that we're bringing to you, conversations with our startup network, every conversation that we have at this time touches on inner inspiration, personal growth, and lessons learned. Even if you're not starting a business anytime soon, you'll find a lot to enjoy. So let's get started. And please make sure that if you have any questions, please chat it to us below. Our amazing team will be checking Facebook for your questions. So please don't be shy. Chat us any questions that you might have for our special guests this evening. Tonight, I am really excited to introduce to you a friend of mine and our special guest, Wolfgang Bierer. He is one of our Startup Lady mentors and advisors. Wolfgang Bierer has a long history as an entrepreneur managing many businesses and brands. But his efforts and passions go beyond for-profit businesses. Wolfgang actively supports and volunteers with nonprofit organizations such as Second Harvest Japan. In addition, he regularly organizes fundraisers to help others in need. So, well, that is our guest tonight. And before we start, I also want to say thank you and give a warm shout out to all our lovely supporters. It's our 2-year anniversary this month. So thank you so much for your support until now. And yeah, don't forget to like and follow our Facebook page and join our free membership so that you can stay up to date and in tune with any updates on events or lives that we are organizing. So thank you for being with us today. And now let's hear from Wolfgang about getting more from giving. So thank you, Wolfgang, for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Coco, for having me. Honor, pleasure to be with you.
I remember the first time that I met you, and it was a really nice encounter. You know, I was very pleased. You know, I went to this random networking wine night. Yeah, oh, good. And I remember we started a conversation, and yeah. I remember how I was really drawn by, you know, hearing about what you're doing and who you are. And I was really, really happy and surprised to hear that someone who's built his own like business consultancy is also very, very passionate about helping other people. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. I remember that. It was a very nice evening.
Yeah, I remember that. And then you know, all this time, our friendship, I know I've always admired you for all your volunteer and all the time that you actually spend. And I personally know how busy you are. I'm always surprised.
That's true. That's true. Yes. So
you're still willing to give your time, you know, for other people. So I want to ask you, like, when did you start with volunteering?
Actually, volunteering goes back really a long time for me. Basically, it started, I would say, around 16. When I was 16, I basically joined the lifeguards at that time. And I basically helped out on training courses. Then I became a lifeguard teacher. Then I took several people to basically the seaside and accompanied them for lifeguard training. And yeah, and then basically grow and with this organization, and actually was then part of the youth organization in my prefecture, I would say, for Japanese terms, in Germany. And then I actually was in charge of international relations, and that was actually one of the first times I came to Japan with the lifeguards. And so there is a tight connection between, for me, volunteering and actually, having chosen Japan to be my living place in the world.
Oh, that's great. And like, I'm curious, like, why did you decide to start volunteering with the lifeguards?
Actually, that was kind of a more need than really immediately like chosen explicitly, because I was formerly like a swimmer, training a lot with a kind of professional team. And then suddenly I changed mindset and said, okay, I have to do something else, concentrate on education. So then I actually lost the training capabilities, and then I've really felt bad for basically a couple of weeks. And then I decided, okay, I need to go back to the pool, which I do still enjoy today. So at the moment, I'm still swimming 2 kilometers a day, roughly. So that's still in my blood. So and that then basically, since lifeguards in Germany, slightly different than, for example, in US. There it's professional. In Germany, it's volunteering. So and clearly in Stuttgart, I'm from South Germany. There's not so much water around. We have some rivers, we have some lakes, but mainly it's the education part, and that's actually also one of the first things I there then learned, is actually how to give swim lessons and how to basically also do the lifeguards teaching them. Yeah.
So, how come you got chosen from? I'm guessing there were quite a few people that were volunteers as well. How come
Mm.
you're the one who got chosen for international relations?
Okay, that's basically the youth organization. There are several people, and then I started basically there helping out, and then and then it's actually like a democratic process. I got elected, and then I was in charge of basically the international relations for basically that lifeguard team. And then the German government had an exchange program where they basically help and these youth organizations, and I had the chance to come to a high profile 3 weeks exchange program to Japan with several homestays. And then at that time I was studying electrical engineering, and I actually found, funny wise, from a Girl Scout. She actually helped me to get an internship then at the Hitachi Software Development Center. And and that's how all the things started for me in Japan.
I see. Okay. And like, did you actually think about, like, did you ever plan on coming to Japan if you had not been a part of the lifeguards?
I know, actually, I don't think so. And also even I would go as far that most likely the lifeguards and the volunteering job, since we run our prefectural youth organization like a small company. The other guys were economic students, and we were a bunch of guys, and we really pulled off huge stuff. So for example, a weekend for 3,000 people in a school. So you first need to get the school, because you can't just go to the authorities and basically say, hey, we're coming with 3,000 people. Is that fine? We wreck your school and go then, leave it. So no, that was all a huge process and a plan. And we all grow with these tasks. And I think a lot what I can do today, or what I am today, is definitely ticking back to the time, or can be connected backwards to what I did with the lifeguards.
I see. And then like, so, well, like with the lifeguards, you kind of came to Japan on an exchange program, and then you got the internship. Did you actually continue working with the lifeguards, or did you start anything else at this time?
Yeah, I kept, of course, like during the times I in the initial year. So okay, at first I was 6 months in Japan for the internship. Then I went back for a year back to Germany, and of course I kept continuing having contact. And then I decided actually to start my career in Japan with the Hitachi Software Development Center, because they offered me a job. And then I came to Japan, and of course then I looked from time to time if I can do something in Kamakura or like that area. But that was kind of stiff. So with the Japanese lifeguards, the only thing that I did is I once exchanged, because I brought some of the lifeguard T-shirts from Germany. So I exchanged it with a guy in Kamakura. But that's the only thing I had not big interactions here in Japan with the lifeguards.
I see, I see. And then like, so from Hitachi, when did you actually make that jump from being an employee to actually starting your own business?
So after basically being with Hitachi for roughly 2 years, I joined international consulting companies, and then one of them actually brought me back to Germany for 4 years, and then, but in contrary, they recognized, okay, I have also know-how for Japan, so the company sent me every other week back to Japan to fix problems, and then I basically said like, okay, either you give me like a different role in Japan, because I discovered a couple of things which I thought I'm the best to fix. And then they couldn't really totally agree. And then I said, okay, anyway, if you can't give me that opportunity, then I need to find my own opportunity. And then basically, since also my at that time still girlfriend, but then I brought my girlfriend from Germany to Japan, and she only stayed, basically, she gave up her business and or her job, came to Japan, and then after 9 months, 10 months, we were actually sent back to Germany. So she's needed to start over again. And then we decided after 4 years being in Germany that this is kind of unfinished job with Japan. And at that time, we didn't leave on our own decision. So therefore, we said, okay, let's go back and start over, and let's do it. So we basically, each of us packed 2 suitcases. We got a little cash, which, we collected over the years. And here we are, 15 years later, running a couple of companies, having 2 kids, and living since over 15 years in Japan.
That's so lovely. I'm always happy when I hear that. So, I mean, I know now, like, you're the founder of Endeavor SBC, and I know that you're involved in some other charities as well, like with charities and nonprofits. Can you tell me a little bit about your activities now?
Of course, like as said, as I'm always connecting basically things, and I was so happy with the volunteering and what it gave to me. So I'm always on the outlook for how can I help, how can I do things. And for me, the most important thing is, like for the volunteering part, is that I feel comfortable with what the organization does, and I want to be engaged. And here for Japan, I did several smaller things, but then of course the big earthquake 2011 came. And well, being a trained lifeguard and actually even a rescue assistant, I had really a hard time not going to Tohoku immediately, because of course at that time really small kids, and also need to take care of about the businesses I was running at the time. But then I evacuated family and the kids, and I was about to basically go back. But then overall, the social pressure from friends, families, and whoever said like, okay, you also better go. So, and then I was really frustrated in Osaka and said like, okay, how can I help? And now I'm leaving, I can't go up there. My skills would be necessary, but I can't. So I basically decided in that moment that I remembered I met before Charles McGillis from Second Harvest Japan, which is a food bank. And I was very impressed about his story, because he basically also set up, I think maybe I not all 100% correct. I think he studied basically non-profit organization at the Sophia University, and then actually to basically define the needs of the homeless people in Tokyo, he made himself several months homeless in like Edogawa area. So yeah, and I was really like, wow, I heard him in the speech, and I thought, okay, that guy, I can trust my money, which I might collect, to him. So I made sure I called him from Osaka airport and said like, hey Charles, like, are you serious about that? I saw that you're going to Tohoku immediately, which he was actually at the time. And I said, I want to get involved. And in the meanwhile, I'm organizing money. And I just want to make sure that all my money, which I collect in Germany then, because I was back in Germany, or was on the way back to Germany, I said, I want to make sure that there's not much overhead. And this is for volunteering and for donating always very important, that everybody looks to really like, what is the overhead of an organization? Because if you donate money to the big guys, then you can almost be sure that almost 50% is gone in overhead and other things which you might don't like. So I'm supporting always like smaller organizations which I can check where actually the money goes. So then I was in Osaka, talked to Charles. He confirmed like, yes, all your money will be there. And one of his first questions was then, hey, can you drive a truck? And I said, yes, I can drive a truck, because I was with the military in Germany. And I said, okay, whenever I'm back, I want to see where my money goes. And he agreed. And then that was the deal with Second Harvest Japan. Okay, I try to collect as much as possible money in Germany, and everything goes to Second Harvest Japan. So I picked my non-profit organization who helped out after the earthquake. So then, flying back to Germany, I already called basically my local newspaper, and I sold them the story, or not sold them the story. I basically didn't get any money, but I said, you get my money, you get my story, you get my pictures, but you need to support me whenever I give you something which you need to publish. You publish. And that we actually did. So landing in Germany one night, next morning, first thing, going to the bank and actually opening a charity bank account. Because for me, transparency is always the most important thing with the charities. Because like even in the short term until I left in Tokyo, there suddenly everybody created a charity, and for some of the people I met, I doubting that much money actually ended up in Tohoku. So I wanted to be different, and I wanted to make 100% sure that all euro which I collect in Germany are actually ending up in Tohoku. So I set up that. Next point was I met the newspaper guys. And then it started, and then we started collecting, and the whole family was very busy. We did all kinds of posters, and we were on the news, and overall that was amazing for basically the first what was it, 15 days. I think we brought, I came back to Japan 11 days later, and I think on day number 15 we had 11 million yen on our bank account, which was then directly 100% donated to Second Harvest Japan. And actually Charles said like, hey Wolfgang, do you print the money in the basement or what do you do? So he was really surprised. And then first thing first, so I think I arrived on 30th of March back in Japan, and 1st of April I was sitting in a truck and driving to Tohoku and supplying food with Second Harvest Japan. And that kept going, the relationship, and I helped out in all areas of Second Harvest Japan. I drove many times a truck to Tohoku, and altogether the charity which we started back at that time, I think we are now roughly 23 to 25 million yen was collected for the support in Tohoku. And then over the time, people or Second Harvest Japan said like, Wolfgang, in your capacity, please join us. So I was then first in charge of being a board member for the Food Bank Alliance in Japan, which is basically overlooking a couple of food banks, not only pure Second Harvest, but also other food banks. So I was there in the board of that. And since now 2 or 3 years, I'm a board member of Second Harvest Japan and helping out wherever I can.
Wow, okay. And like, what made you decide to actually become a board member rather than continuing just what you were doing until then?
Well, since I, of course, saw the operation, and one big topic, of course, is always like fundraising and basically making people who have actually no idea. That was almost like a nice question to the community, is who actually know what food banking is. So that's, I think, is a big topic. And since I'm now in the position running my businesses, being well connected here in the Tokyo community, I can basically approach like, yeah, higher ranking guys, I would say, or ladies, who are able to yeah, maybe donate larger amounts, and there I really want to basically help to lobby for that, since it's definitely necessary and it's definitely very important. So since it's a one-way conversation, so I keep going a little bit in regards to food banking. So because I don't get the questions back, and not from you, Coco, but not from the community. So food banking is basically whatever you buy in the supermarket. You sometimes see it gets a ditch, so a can with a small dent in it. You see the expiration dates on the food. And then there's just a law which doesn't allow to basically sell the food after you're approaching the expiration date. So it's similar than you see at the evening if you're the discount shopper. So the supermarket needs to get rid of the food. So that's why they're discounting it. Because if it's over basically a certain time, then they need to throw it away. And unfortunately, and almost unbelievable, is the garbage from food garbage need to be specially treated, and basically it's super expensive. So therefore, yeah, it's actually a win-win. So what we do is basically we take away the food which can't be sold anymore. That's in the meanwhile mainly big wholesalers rather than each small supermarket. And we provide the food to people in need to basically, yeah, from homeless people, single mothers, orphanage. We have like a kids cafe in Akihabara where basically kids can come and get their second warm food in the day. Usually the schools at the moment, big trouble. Of course, schools were not open for long. So especially kids had a really, really tough time to secure the second warm meal in some areas of Tokyo. So it's really, like I said, from basically homeless people to single mothers, but we also provide a couple of so-called pantry, where people in need can go, and it's kind of supermarket. The only difference between our supermarket and that supermarket is you don't need to pay at the end of the day, but you can basically go and pick whatever you want, and then you check out, and you don't necessarily need to really pay. I think there's a membership fee, but not kind of the big money. So yeah, and especially since these are all trusted, and I want to get involved, and I want to also make sure that when I raise funds, that they get used in the most appropriate way, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love what you're doing. I think it's really admirable, and I hope that, you know, one day I can also learn from you a little bit more on how to be able to support the community better. Yeah,
I think everyone can, and it's also, it's not a point of money and money raising. It's about spending your time, and this is the important point. And I think if I see nowadays, especially everybody playing around with the mobile phone and wasting a lot of time on that, rather than doing something and looking back, all the volunteer work is always a gain for me. It's basically, you appreciate even what you have, as small as or as big as it is. You always appreciate that actually you're in a better position than people you might be able to help. Plus, of course, also you learn a lot in terms of human interaction. And basically, yeah, all the skill sets are triggered. And in a in a non-professional environment. Not saying that Second Harvest is not professionally set up, but you choose on your free time to do something which doesn't make money for your own pocket, but basically gain some benefits for the community and for the society. And that, I think, is very important to understand.
So, I mean, yeah, there is a lot to learn, and I'm just surprised that, you know, you're able to keep up with all of those, like helping society and giving your time when I know that your time is limited. Do you have any advice for people that might want to walk in your footsteps?
I think time management overall is one thing which I believe I can handle quite okay. So concentrate on things what you need to accomplish. Really try to block out things which disturb, and that I'm try it more or less better and better, but also sometimes not as good. So it's just like concentrate on one thing, then you can usually accomplish quite a bit of stuff. Overall, I have to say I'm not a big TV watcher. I really barely watch TV. So therefore, okay, there's some time to spend. Plus, of course, also many of the events are actually even enjoyable. So it's not like I need to do that. No, it's good. And of course, at the time for after the earthquake, and anyway, the businesses were down. So I had the skill set. I could drive a 8-ton truck. So therefore, yeah, I was sitting in the truck and driving a truck. And so I think that's just like where you want to put the focus on. And many times just hanging out or browsing around and doing or wasting time on games or whatever, it doesn't really help. And find something where you can put your heart behind and your passion behind, and I think that's also like overall it's very good in our today's society with more and more everything online, everything basically like only digital. We do Zoom, unfortunately now. It's just like, yeah, we have so much to learn, also to interact. And sometimes what I figured was even the volunteering jobs and exposing myself to different lifestyles, to different like, I don't want to say levels in society, but different income groups. It's you always learn something, and you can basically it's not all about the newest car, it's not all about the newest and the most expensive drink. It's basically going down to have something to eat and have something to drink. That's I think the bare minimum what everybody should have. But unfortunately, and they're the really big topic, and this is always shocking if I tell the story, is if you see where Japan, as one of the developed countries from the OECD, is in terms of child poverty in the ranks from 1 to 40. So 1 is good, 40 is bad. Unfortunately, Japan is on level like 35 to 37 on one of the reports from about child poverty. So you don't see it necessarily, you don't really feel it, but yeah, it's out there. So plus, of course, many single moms who are out there and also have their struggles, or single dads, of course. So there, I think, yeah, take a look what's out there. Another thing what I support is TEL, which is basically like the suicide telephone call center for foreigners in Japan. Maybe this community is even also like interested in or not interested, but maybe know someone who can do their thing. So TEL regular do fundraising events, does any kind of pub quiz, and yeah, go there, join. That's already helping. That's kind of volunteering. And then of course, if you want to put little more effort into it, then join the groups. They have several events, where you can volunteer. Of course, also Second Harvest. We have a whole volunteering program, even for whole corporations. We have basically like our kitchen where we create, where for on Saturday we many times serve the homeless community with prepared food, and on Friday it's basically the volunteering time for companies coming in with several people, and then actually preparing the food for our delivery on Saturday. So if you're interested in that, yeah, go to the Second Harvest website and have a look.
Yeah, sounds good. And then we have a question from Keith.
Yeah.
He's asking, Japan's been known to be a little cautious about NPOs or volunteer groups. How has it gotten easier or better over time?
Yeah, yeah, don't want to say too negative. In Japan, too many non-profit organizations are, in my eyes, sometimes a little the gambarimasu. So there's no real aim for it. Sometimes you also don't know exactly what's the purpose, what's the objective, and it's just like a group of people doing something, but nobody knows exactly what. Of course, in the aftermath of the earthquake, honestly, there were many NPOs started, which the transparency is not given. So if you always need to watch out that you can basically trace your money which you give to anyone in somehow, and make sure that you always double check what's the overhead cost, and people our NPOs you want to join should also be clear about like their cost structure, because at the end of the day you might actually work for free for someone who makes profit, which would not be the overall thing you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess like the situation is changing, but I find that volunteering is not as easy here in Japan for me, for example. When I was in San Diego, it was really easy for me to find volunteer opportunities and get involved with different communities. And after I moved here to Japan about 5 years ago, I remember looking for volunteer opportunities, and there were a few things. I remember, I think TEL probably popped up and a few things popped up, but it wasn't that accessible, especially as someone who is not fully Japanese that speaks fluent Japanese. Have you had that experience here too?
Yes. So for me, yeah, after a few smaller attempts with different things, even my first job was basically like, yeah, volunteering for Hitachi, like in the tennis club or things like that. That was within the organization, but also there already I struggled with one thing, of course, language ability, and the other topic was basically like there are sometimes, especially from a foreigner background, is sometimes too many meetings with no outcome, too much discussion about basically what's the overall aim and the strategy and the path forward and whatever, but don't get anything done. So for me, that's of course, it's usually not what I like to do. So therefore, that was a little like my drawback. And then, yeah, as more like with an international background, of course, there are more the international organizations are there. And then, of course, in the moment when, of course, we now have 2 kids, there, of course, around the school, a lot of volunteer opportunities come up, and there, of course, you can get engaged. But I think there are many different, even on another NPO I'm helping out, it's called Sailability Tokyo, which is basically the aim is to teach people in Japan how to sail. So I'm one of the sailing instructors. So actually that's quite cool and quite nice. So you can basically combine free time with also some volunteering or pleasure time with volunteering. So I love sailing. So that's a very nice combination.
So how did you find out about this opportunity?
okay, that was really like, okay, I have my own boat and in the marina, and basically, actually, I share a boat. I share the ownership of a boat, and one of our other owners, he's actually the president of that NPO. So he asked, "Hey, Wolfgang, can you help out to teach sailing?" But that started off actually since they picked up. We have some dinghies, and there was rather like a river party in March in Kotuku, and it's always freezing cold. And then I was, of course, with my background being a lifeguard, I was the rescue boat driver and stuff like that. So, but yeah, sometimes it's also, yeah, you need to just, and I think that's especially for that thing. It was freezing cold, but you just need to move and do things, and I think that's just go out and find the opportunities and see what's out there. And I think nowadays finding something is not too difficult. Of course, then making it work for yourself, that's then how much actually hard you want to pour into it, and then and you can make it happen.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, I think there are ways to find opportunities to kind of give back to the community, but do you have any advice for people that might not have as much time or money? How do they narrow down like how much to give back to society or the community or to helping others?
Yeah, it's for me, it's really like it's definitely not a money topic. So it's you want to spend your time. So it's not about rich or poor or having something you want to give or not. But of course, I'm always saying, and if you follow me on Facebook, I'm always texting recently, like yeah, if I find something on Facebook which is from the ocean cleanup over other topics, it's just like try to help and engage and say, okay, I gave 1,000 yen. I skipped my pint in the bar, and I have 1,000 yen in the hand. And I think that's what you can do, even with small money. And then if you want to engage in terms of time, that's then just like you skip whatever game you love the most, and then you can basically have 2 or 3 hours which you could give to something which is actually fun and help. And I think they're also, well, startup ladies are also growing with that, and they're, of course, I'm also happy to be one of the mentors, which is also, of course, volunteering. And but that's many times it's combining basically from knowledge sharing, which is a kind of it's an in-kind donation. So that's also perfectly fine. It's not that you need to always basically give, and the most important thing nowadays is really time. And if you can spend that in an environment, and as said before in one of my initial statements, is you always gain, you always learn something for yourself also, and you, I think overall the volunteering definitely make me appreciating what I have in a much better extent than any other thing, because you many times see, okay, not all people are in or not so many people are in a wealthy position. Everybody needs to really work hard to earn the bucks, and I think that's very important and also humbling for me to say, yeah, I'm perfectly fine serving homeless people on the weekend. That's part of me giving back to society.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's great. I feel like we're also very lucky with Startup Lady because we are a volunteer-based organization, and honestly, I truly know and believe that we wouldn't be where we are today without all our volunteers, of course, including you, Wolfgang. Like,
Thank you.
we honestly couldn't be here without like everyone's support because we are volunteer-based, and I just think, like, you know, it's really great to have people like you and everyone in the team, you know, supporting us, trying to help us accomplish this mission to, you know, make a positive impact and really affect change in society. And like, I wonder what we can do to kind of encourage other people and, you know, not being afraid to kind of be confident in, you know, in their own skills. You know, it might be their time, it might be money. For each person, it'll be different.
Mm.
Do you have any thoughts? Like, what can we do to kind of, you know, reassure people that honestly, it really does make a difference? Like, we got some donations, one of the lives, and it really made us happy. And it also, you know, it just shows that, you know, even small amounts or large amounts, it really does make a difference. And I think that sometimes people are afraid to, you know, give their skills or their expertise or their time. What can we do to kind of, you know, encourage people and reassure them that it's important and that they matter?
Yeah, I think it's really like up to everybody else. If you say, okay, I skip that drink and give the 1,000 yen to something I care about, or basically like okay, I put on the weekend a couple of hours out, because yeah, either I just want to be engaged, or I have a special skill set which I might use professionally, but I'm also good in, yeah, I don't know, like page programming or something like that, and then suddenly, okay, you can join and help out there. For me, for NPOs, the most important thing is, as said before, where at least me, and I think especially also mainly foreigners, is it's not like just coming together is not necessarily the aim. So driving things forward and doing things is for me most important. And then at the evening, basically seeing a result of the day, and not basically just browsing and having brainstorming sessions, endless brainstorming sessions. So I personally be someone who wants to accomplish something. So I think everybody is they're different, and you need to find where your major skill set is, and even if there's no skill set, it's just like handing out pamphlets for something you care about already helps. So there's definitely no influence of money. So time is nowadays, I think, the most important currency anyway in the world. So it's not about money. It's basically what you can give, and that's either skills or really just bare time to do something. And for me also very important is, when I'm joining, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. So it has nothing to do with my ranks, which I maybe have in my companies. It's basically, I can do a copy shop. I can do basically yeah, whatever, peeling potatoes, or it's just like, yeah, it's doesn't matter, but you need to be able to really put your heart behind what you're doing. And there I saw some frustration, to be honest, like in Tohoku, people went up there, and then the NPO was not organized, and then it's kind of nice to have jobs then given. So it's not like you see everywhere the debris, and then you do almost a kind of small gardening project, which doesn't help now. So I want to move big pieces, and they gave me only like very small stuff. So that frustration, I think you see from time to time.
Oh, that's definitely true. Any advice for people on that?
Yeah, it's just like, I think there you need to, especially if you take time to go there, you better maybe call and really say, okay, what's the agenda for today? What's the program? What kind of things you actually do before go there, and or then just like, if it's not your cup of tea, then just leave, because you're a volunteer. There's not that you need to sit there and basically do things. So I think that's yeah, very important to make up your own mindset.
That's absolutely true. But you know, that is the difficulty that a lot of people can face during certain times, making up your mindset and actually taking action and following through. So yeah. And are there like, can you give any advice on other things that people can take a look at when deciding to support a, you know, a charity or a nonprofit or anything, any kind of volunteer opportunity out there?
Yeah, for me, it's even like even as I said, even volunteering, or I volunteer for things. For example, ocean cleanup. I donated some money initially, so that's not that I know people there or whatever. But now regular when they post something, I repost it for them. I use my network to do things. So it's really like if your heart is behind something, then yeah, do it, and encourage the other people to do it, to help out, and to even spreading the word is already a good volunteer task. Even you don't need to leave your house. So, but of course, the interaction, I think it's more and more important. Of course, especially in our COVID-19 times, it's not the coolest thing, or it's not opportunity really to go out and see friends. So there, yeah, but a lot of things still need to be done, and I said even from your home, if you have skill set, you can do something. It's not always pure physical labor. It's also brain power. So yeah, go out, and especially sometimes you have a job which you might not can put all your passion in. Then look for something which you can maybe pour a little more passion for during your volunteering time. And for me personally, like, I think it was a life-changing decision to go more and more into that. And sometimes basically, of course, even the critics from my parents was like, oh yeah, you're spending so much time there, and you blah 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 blah. And I said, well, it's for something good, and yes, I'm eager, and I worked hard on money making jobs in parallel to actually can finance it. So that all worked out well, and I think it's always like, yeah, follow your heart, and then things come together. I think that's important.
That's true. And there's also like the one thing that I actually wonder is, you know, when do you know when you're doing too much, when it's, you know, it's time for you to think about other things or supporting other projects, or maybe, you know, the direction that a group is going in is not in the same way anymore?
Well, I think a very important decision is always like, yeah, especially if you not come out of the comfort position to say, okay, I just donate money, and then I feel more happy. So if it's really like, if you're spending time, and if you're spending your free time, and if you recognize that you're spending actually too much time, that you are neglecting your other responsibilities, and that is not necessarily purely on, yeah, to your responsibility to take care about yourself and also make some money for yourself. Because of course volunteer jobs are always like non-profit, and you can't really earn, or you, it's not supposed that you're earning money. It's rather like you generate support, and then yeah. But if this balance is not anymore there, or if you feel that basically you are used to an extent that you feel in principle I actually should get paid for that, then I think it's important to say, okay, yeah, is there a possibility either to end, for example, for Second Harvest Japan, of course we have, I think, roughly 10-15 full-time employees or part-time employees, and they earning money. So it's always like many organizations have a core team of full-time employees, and then a bunch of basically or volunteers around them to support that. And clearly the organization like Second Harvest could not work without our volunteers. But of course, it's just like the core team drives it, because also in many areas now, COVID-19 showed again. We had like a big slump in volunteers, but a huge increase in food, because the supermarkets didn't get it out of their shelves, or the restaurants and the wholesale market. So that's all shifted. So I think there, yeah, just make sure you don't feel, yeah, like misused or basically, I don't know exactly the English word for it. So yeah, so make sure you have fun. This is the most important thing. You have a good feeling that you contributed to do something, but also you have enough time to take care about yourself and follow your normal business, and also secure your own life, because this is also important.
Yes, very, very good points. So one final question before we close tonight's conversation is, can you tell me a little bit, just like what benefits do you think you've gained from all the volunteer? Like what in your life would have been different if you hadn't actually started volunteering?
I said I most likely wouldn't have ended up in Japan.
Yeah, other than Japan.
One point, but clearly what I studied electrical engineering, so this is rather a techie job, and okay, I recognized after a while studying it that I definitely don't want to be basically in a laboratory and developing something. So I wanted to go out and go meet people. So, and then what I learned during my time in the lifeguards actually gave, I think, a very good foundation to what I'm now am, an entrepreneur, because there, and what you can learn in non-profit organizations many times is making a lot out of not much money. And that is, for me, the biggest learning point in that is, and you know what now coming, like if I see today's entrepreneurs, they're all aiming only for the pitch, but the pitch is not the most important thing. It's basically how to make your company sustainable, and that you can actually run it for many years. And then the most shiny office is not important, and then used furniture goes, as well as many other used stuff to make things happen. And that this making a lot out of almost nothing in terms of resources, that I learned. And I think that is nowadays still, even today in companies, I'm in my companies, I push on never trust a salesman who asks for the budget, because then he sells to your budget. You tell him the budget, he sells to your budget. So no, he needs to know his value of his services, and then he can offer these to a fair price to you. So all these kind of things we learned, or I learned volunteering, and of course for me, yeah, the seeing, and I'm coming from a middle class family, and I didn't inherit it, or I started everything what I have on my own. So therefore I'm always appreciate what I have, but I also want to see and how can I help people who are maybe not so privileged, and how can I help with my skill set or with my money at the end of the day, to support that, and that's what actually makes me happy at the end of the day, to support. And that is really like giving back to society and doing good. That's basically the intrinsic motivation for me to do that.
Well, thank you for sharing all about your volunteer experiences, Wolfgang.
My pleasure. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, definitely. And then just for our viewers' sake, I'm just going to give a quick recap of the best learnings from today's conversation is, number one, find projects and groups that are effective and match your passions, right? That makes sense.
Yes.
And let's see, know that many actions helps. So things like Wolfgang mentioned, sharing a post, sending even just a little bit of money, maybe as Wolfgang said, instead of getting a drink, if you send that to someone, it actually might really make a difference. And it might also just be, kind of volunteering your time and maybe just spending like an hour packing boxes or handing out flyers. It really does make a difference. And then another thing to remember is that one involvement can quickly turn into many others. So
Mm.
don't see things for just what it is. Like recognize that there are other things that you can really learn and gain from this one encounter, this one experience, because you never know. It all adds up eventually. You just have to be mindful. And one final thing is great nonprofits know how to deliver results with few resources. So honestly, like, yes, people do say like money makes the world go round. And yes, it does in a way. But there's so much that we can do even without money. Like everyone can actually make a difference. You just have to find the opportunity and make that decision for yourself. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed that conversation tonight with Wolfgang Bierer, the founder of Endeavor SBC, who's also a mentor and advisor to Startup Lady. And yeah, and then just, I hope that you guys enjoyed watching our live this evening. If you enjoyed it, please let us know, send us some comments, send us any suggestions for topics where we're always looking and we're always looking for great ideas and topics that might be interesting and valuable to the community overall. And if you enjoyed these, please support us. We are a volunteer-based community. So, and yeah, if you want to get more involved with Startup Lady, we currently have a free membership with great resources. Our free membership helps you connect with like-minded women and non-binary members. And once you join, you'll also have access to our upcoming 60-day startup challenge with daily actions to get your business idea going. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And just to let you know, our next live is going to be with our mentor, Annie Chang. It's going to be on Tuesday, August 18th at 7:30 JST. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and follow our page so that you get all the alerts. And yeah, don't forget, we have our Facebook community. Join us. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us this evening. So thank you. And yeah, please join
Thank
us
you also
and
from my
support us.
side. Thank
And
you
hope
very
to see you
much.
next time.
Bye.